Before listening to this episode, remember that we are currently selling our token. You and your friends will be able to make part of the seasteading ecosystem. Visit veryon.io for more information. And if you want seasteading to go to your country, we now have a Blue Frontiers global contest with a final prize of $100,000. Make your own seastead. Visit bluefrontiers.global to win the possibility of bringing a $60 million investment to your city and the chances of hosting our second seastead.
Hi, I'm Joe Quirk. Welcome to the Blue Frontiers podcast about all my favorite things: seasteading, the environment, special economic zones, and innovation in science, technology, governance, and society itself. Today's podcast brings you Kara Dentice. He's a Maori descendant from Te Ureeera, a protected area in New Zealand that owns itself. Kara speaks about two legislative processes in New Zealand where natural systems, a river and a park, were given legal personhood to own and protect themselves. Now, here's your host, Nathalie Mezza-Garcia.
I'm here with Kara Dentice and we are melting.
In the good old Tahiti sun.
Yes, we are melting in Tahiti, and I've kidnapped Kara and I have him locked down in a kitchen where it's like 300 degrees Fahrenheit. How are you, Kara?
I'm good. I'm hot and sweating.
I am sorry for kidnapping you and taking you here, bringing you here to this kitchen, but it was the only place where it was silent other than the roosters.
Oh, crazy roosters.
Yeah, so Kara and I, we met yesterday at the TED Talk of Papete TEDx Talks. And Kara, can you please tell us what were you talking about? Your talk was about nature and legal systems, but you were emphasizing on the word coexistence.
Yeah. So my talk yesterday, I talked about coexistence, man and the environment, and how societies and communities might be able to reframe our relationship with the environment and sort of start transitioning from a relationship where we see the environment as a resource that exists purely to facilitate our own existence as human beings. So that in that frame of mind, we see the relationship is extractive. It's taking from the environment. It's this whole idea of having a piece of paper, which means that you own the environment, and therefore you can do whatever you like in the environment, on the environment. And as we can see, that has led to a whole number of issues with our land, with our water, climate change, sea level rise. The whole shebang has been a byproduct of our relationship with the environment, a relationship of being extractive and owning things. So I'm really quite keen to sort of start a global conversation around how we can flip the paradigm and change our way of thinking about the environment. A lot of people think that in order to fix the environment, we need to manage our river, we need to manage our land, we need to manage our ecosystems. But my view is actually that we don't need to manage any of those things. We just need to manage our own personal human relationships with the environment. That's all we need to manage. Because if we start managing the environment or managing the water, it's too late. We've already done something wrong. So we need to manage our relationship. Yeah.
It starts from our behaviors.
Totally.
And also, just like with meditation, sometimes when you're being told how to breathe, you live inside breathing. Same thing, we live inside the environment. We are not something separated. We are not an entity that is imposed from the top down.
Yeah.
Yes. So what have you have been involved in several cases where we have tried to, as societies, go from seeing nature and the environment and resources as something we own, we possess, we extract to other different types of systems we live with.
Exactly.
Can you tell us a bit about your experience, your previous work,
Yeah,
your current one?
Yeah, totally. I guess I'll take it back a little bit in terms of understanding the sort of this frame of coexistence that I'm sort of trying to articulate. Within Maori culture, when a child is born, the placenta is buried into the ground, and the burying of the placenta recognizes the connection and the cementing of the relationship between the child and the land. And in Maori or in New Zealand, we call the land Papatuanuku, who is our Earth Mother.
It's the same name of the placenta, no?
Oh, the same name for the placenta is whenua, and the word for land is also whenua. Yeah, so the one and the same thing. And I guess the key element is about that connection, that relationship. But the second part is also an element of reciprocity, because by putting the placenta in the ground and then planting a tree on top of it, you're also giving back to the environment, back to Papatuanuku, who over the period that you were inside your mother's belly sustained your mother and sustained you. So you are recognizing and thanking Mother Earth for that sustenance that she provided in order for you to come into this world. So that in its core is what I'm talking about, a coexistence within our environment. How do we ensure that when we take, that we give back? How do we act in a reciprocal way with our environment? And so within New Zealand, we have Maori have been marginalized, dispossessed, disassociated with their environments, with their lands, with their traditions, with their cultures, with their waters. And over a period of time, and this is not an uncommon story, it happens everywhere.
Yes.
And over a period of time, we have progressed different approaches to reclaim our identity, to reclaim our language, to reclaim our land and our relationship with the land. In 1990s, in the 1980s, 1990s, we started the journey of treaty settlements. And out of those treaty settlements was basically, a treaty settlement was all about, the government did a wrong thing, so we're going to settle the claim, we're going to settle those issues and compensate that tribe.
Why the name 3D?
Treaty because in 1840, Maori signed a treaty with the Crown, with the government, and in that it said a number of things, saying that we will not dispossess you of your lands, we will not da 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 da. But over from 1840 onwards, there were a number of breaches of that treaty, which saw a lot of issues and a lot of dispossession of land and culture and identity, etc. So in the 1990s, we started a process of treaty settlements, going to the Crown and saying, these are our grievances, these are the things that you did wrong, and we want to settle them, and you're going to have to pay us back or give us back the land or whatever. And key elements within that were also what were called co-management or co-governance roles, so or co-governance frameworks.
What does co-governance mean?
Co-governance was or is where the Crown and the iwi co-govern a natural resource, like a river.
The iwi being the indigenous tribe.
Yeah, the indigenous tribe, and they co-manage or co-govern a piece of land or a river or a stream, in order to reconnect people.
Yes.
In order to also improve the state of that river also. A number of our rivers in New Zealand, although we're noted for being clean and green, we're not.
I know that one previous politician years ago, oh, you're sweating so much, wanted to tax farmers because of the CO2 emission of cows.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, for example.
There's 15 million cows.
Wow,
And
15 million
yeah,
cows?
around 15
How many
million.
humans?
4.75 million.
Why the disproportion number?
It's crazy. Basically, New Zealand was created as the food basket for England back in when it was sort of a British colony.
To ship it all the way there?
Yeah, they ship all the beef, dairy, butter, lamb, wool, all the way to England.
Couldn't they do floating farms? Seasteading farms?
Totally, right?
Wow.
And that was another key thing, right? New Zealand's got really good soils, so the colonials came in and they basically drained all the swamps and then turned them into pastoral farms. So yeah, we've got not that many. There are not that many swamp remnants within New Zealand.
It's 3% the number
yeah,
now.
It's about 2%. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Wow.
So
I think you have more sweat in your face now than New Zealand.
It's hot in here.
It's very hot. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But yeah, so that was the model. That's been one of the earliest models is co-governance, co-management, where you've set up a framework where the Crown still has predominant control over the environment.
Yes.
But there's a co-governance or a co-management model where the Crown and the iwi, the tribe, input into the decision making around the management and the governance of a particular environment. Fast forward to 2014, the co-governance or the co-management models didn't really seem to fit in with the whole concept of reforging, or didn't fit in with didn't facilitate the ability to actually reforge the relationship that we wanted to have with our environment.
You wanted it to be autonomous?
We wanted an autonomous relation. Yeah, we wanted the environment to be autonomous. We wanted to ensure that no one had control over this environment. Yes. No one other than the entity itself, other than the river, other than this piece of land, and it would have its own control over itself.
So what steps did you take?
I didn't take any steps personally, but for both instances, for both the Whanganui River and Te Urewera, the two pieces of, or the two natural features within New Zealand that are their own legal person, the argument.
Wait, so one moment. So these two rivers were granted legal personhood?
Yeah, one river, the Whanganui River.
Yes.
And the Te Ureeera National Park.
And these, so you've been more involved in the national park than in the Whanganui River?
I've been involved a little bit in the Whanganui River.
Yes.
And I am a descendant of Te Urewera, so I'm from Te Urewera.
Great.
So I'm the same. We are children of the mist, as the people of Te Urewera, because it's quite a misty environment. It's always mist in there. So we call ourselves, or we're considered children of the mist.
Te Urewera and Whanganui.
And Whanganui River is called Te Awa Tupua, the river of its own mystique.
Oh, that's its name?
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. The river of its own mystique, but not its own governance. Until we had to grant him autonomy with a paper.
Yeah.
Because that's what it all comes down to.
It's what it all comes down to is a piece of paper which says you're a legal person now. But the journey there took over 160 odd years. We've been, for both Te Urewera and the Whanganui River, the local tribes had been fighting with the Crown to get that relationship back.
Yes.
And the key issue within both of those cases was ownership, because the government did not want to give up its ownership
Why?
or ownership rights of these things, because it's the crown.
Yeah,
They're not in the business of giving up things.
yeah, it's a very ad hoc authority.
Yeah, exactly. And also it's a political issue. It's a whole number of layers of complexity within it.
Yes.
So the government weren't going to give it up. And so in both cases, both tribes had to continue having conversations with the government to see what might be able to be created. And in doing so, they actually had to remove the word ownership from the language.
Oh.
So it wasn't about either the local tribe or the government owning anything. And once they were able to get rid of the word ownership, then you were actually able to have a much more meaningful conversation about what this environment represents.
Wow, because it wasn't about who would win.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
about what we are talking about.
Exactly, and
Wow.
what do we want to achieve?
Wow.
What do we want to protect? What do we want to reclaim? What do we want to ensure maintains within both of these environments? And so basically they came to a point of agreement that, okay, yeah, let's have them own themselves.
Yeah.
And
this is really important.
it's really important. And there are a lot of questions still within New Zealand around, well, what happens if the river floods and floods my house? Can I sue the river? And theoretically you probably could.
Yeah.
And I think that presents something which is quite exciting as well.
Sometimes we sue the government. The government has less of an ethereal entity if you compare it with a river.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. They always are. So there are these legal questions around the river, and can the river sue me if I pollute it?
Yes.
If I put diesel into the river, can the river sue me? And it can. So the framework that both, I know Te Ureeera, or the Whanganui River has, it has two what we call po.
Yes.
One that represents the crown, the government, and one that represents the iwi, the local tribe.
Like a spokesperson.
A spokesperson.
A mouthpiece. A mouthpiece, actually.
They are purely but the mouthpiece for the river. They speak on behalf of the river.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And so they are the ones that provide the guidance around not management.
Yes.
Around the relationship. How the relationship is maintained between humans and the river.
So the relationship of coexistence.
The relationship of coexistence, yeah, exactly. And the biggest, I guess, not so much issue, but we've been removed from our environment and from this way of understanding and living for such a long time.
Yes.
That we as Maori, within these contexts, living within these environments, we've got to go on our own journey of unlearning the ideas of the past and unlearning resource management, or unlearning extractive behaviors, or unlearning negative relationships with our environment.
So the Maori have also fallen into that logic?
Exactly. Have been sort of brought into this sort of dominant discourse. And
really?
Yeah, in many ways. So we've got to relearn what it means to actually coexist with our environment as well.
That's very interesting
Yeah.
because there was a case a few years ago in Colombia of an oil company wanted to go to a territory, an indigenous territory, and drill to extract oil. And the argument of the local indigenous were, if you drill here to extract oil, you're raping our mom.
Yeah.
You're raping our Pachamama. Obviously, you can pretty much guess the outcome.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you say that the Maori fall into the logic of extraction also.
Yeah, they have, and it's not every Maori.
No,
I
understand.
But it's because basically due to the process of colonization, um, Western thinking has dominated all of us in some ways. So,
Yes.
and the Western frameworks pervade everything that we do. So it's impregnated within all of our society. So we've got to learn we've got to unlearn those Western ideals and relearn our traditional ways and traditional thinking and traditional coexistence relationships, which in many ways is going to be a long journey for some people, and for others it's going to be it's a much easier journey.
Is it connected to the law somehow, or it's more of a personal journey and collective one?
It's more of a it's definitely connected to the loss of the relationship, the disconnection, and it's definitely a collective journey, you know, and because within New Zealand, a lot of, like for instance in Te Urewera, there are 40,000 people within that tribe, but only 7,000 of them actually live in our homeland.
Okay.
The 33,000 live in Wellington, Auckland, India, China, the rest of the world.
Okay.
So how do we get the 33,000 people who don't live there to understand this relationship, to understand and connect with this idea and this identity, and be a part of it? So, and we want, well, at least I would like to see every Tūhoe person from Te Urewera have that relationship with her in their own way. So that's a journey. It's a huge journey.
Yeah, that's a journey, and it becomes a bit longer if you deterritorialize your identity from the place where you are from, because then you no longer connect your personal identity with the territory, which not only happens when you leave the territory in some cases, but also when your life takes other dimensions that are not connected to the place of origin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
No, you're exactly right.
No, you're more right. I'm just summarizing what you're saying.
But yeah, for instance, for me, I don't live in Te Urewera as well. My grandmother was born and raised there.
Yes.
At the age of 18, she left and she came to Wellington.
Okay.
She got a job. She found my grandfather. They met, got married, had 5 children, 5 children, and she left there and lived the next 60 odd years of her life, rest of her life in Wellington.
Yes.
So, but she would always go back.
Yes.
But she's got children and grandchildren and great grandchildren who don't have a strong relationship with that place.
Mm-hmm.
So
how do you maintain alive the connection when there's no territory to feel attached to? Because you didn't leave it.
I'm sure there are some really good ideas out there on how to do it.
How do you do it?
Or for me, I feel a personal obligation to go there and to be in that environment. And actually I'm going there next weekend. So yeah, I feel a personal obligation to go there because of my love for my grandmother, my love for my land, and for my love of my language and my culture and my identity, that it's a part of who I am.
Yes.
So I need to be in touch with it.
Yes.
I need to touch it, feel it, smell it, swim in it, walk in it, talk in it,
Yes.
be in it, and be a part of it,
Yes.
and be with it. Because if I don't, then I feel like I'm losing a part of my identity. I lose a part of who I am. And also, my grandmother gave a lot of her time and knowledge to the tribe of my grandfather, his tribe. And I feel a sense of obligation towards that as well, and acknowledging my grandmother's tribe of Tuhoi and what she did.
What's the name of her tribe, and what's the name of your grandfather's tribe?
My grandfather's tribe is Te Ureeera, which is based sort of in the Wellington area. Te Ureeera, yeah. And my grandmother was in Tuhoi.
Tuhoi.
Yeah. And so she did a lot with my grandfather's tribe and teaching them the Maori language and songs and weaving and all sorts of things. So she gave a lot of that knowledge which came from her home of Te Urewera, because that was a rural environment, isolated. They maintained their language much. It was much easier to maintain their language.
Yes.
Te Ureeera, urban tribe, Wellington, cities. So it was, much more people, different, and the loss of the language was much quicker. The loss of tradition was much quicker because everything was,
the urban environment.
The urban environment just broke the fabric of Maori culture and society. So my grandmother provided a lot of the traditional Maori knowledge, the language, all those sorts of things for my Te Ureeera people. So I feel also an obligation to ensure that in respect of what she did for my Te Ureeera people, I have to then give back to Te Urewera, and I have that obligation to ensure that I do that, and then I bring people along with me in that journey. So I think the reclaiming of identity is just the process of just doing it. If you're, and it sounds really simple, and it sounds, but if you're learning a language.
What if you put the law in the middle?
Yeah. If you're learning a language, you talk it, right? If you wanted to learn French or Italian or Maori or Tahitian, you're not going to learn it by not talking it.
No.
So you just got to talk it.
I wish it was as simple as I want to learn the language.
Yeah, download.
Which will be the case in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say 30 years.
Probably.
Probably even less. Have you seen the new Google Translator? Where you just put the screen there on the, let's say, Finnish or Chinese text, and it immediately translates it in the screen.
Yeah.
It's magic.
That's crazy. That's cool.
It's very cool. It's very, very cool.
Technology is just advancing so quickly.
It is.
We don't have flying cars yet, but
well, we are on a podcast of floating islands.
Yeah, true.
So we're getting there, definitely getting there. How do you think that we can keep a culture, an indigenous culture, alive in the midst of all the really speeding up, quick, fast technological developments that sometimes detach us from our origins?
Yeah, I think
How?
It's about maintaining the traditions, but making them relevant to the times. People think that some people think that maintaining your culture requires the stagnation, to go back to the traditions, the old traditions, and maintain those old traditions, because that's what we've done for thousands of years.
Yes.
But the reality is that every culture, every people have adapted and changed and become more relevant to the environment around them. If they don't adapt, they die.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, adaptation.
Exactly. So one part of it is the language. The key
Yes.
element of maintaining culture and identity is language.
Yes.
The second element of it is the principles and the values of that culture and that society and that community, and maintaining those values. Those are the key elements, I think. And as long as what you are doing gives mana, gives
Yes.
respect, gives and enhances those values and principles, then you're maintaining culture, you're maintaining your identity. So within Maori culture, we have a whole number of values and principles. Kaitiakitanga means stewardship or guardianship over the environment.
Kaitakitana.
Yeah, kaitiakitanga. So that's an ethic of stewardship. We don't own anything, we're just the guardians, you know. So, and that's always been a value that's been maintained within our society for a long, long time. Modi, which is a life force. We believe that everything has a Modi,
Yes.
and everything is Modi. So it's a life essence, and everything that we've got to do is to maintain a positive Modi, a positive life force, so we can ensure that the trees grow, and then they can have flowers, and then they can the birds can then eat the flowers, etc., 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 and so the story goes. So there are all these values, and as long as that it's at your core, you act to maintain those values, you are maintaining your culture and your identity. And if you can do it in your own language, then even better.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
You know, and participate in song and dance and storytelling. I think a key element to maintaining culture is storytelling, like what we're doing right now, is having a story and having a chat about it. There are so many nuggets of goodness within stories, within myths and legends and all those sorts of things, which encapsulate the identity of the tribe, of the people, just like the movie Moana.
Yes.
You know, for us in the Pacific, in the Moana Nui a Kiwa, we've got a really close relationship to that, and all of us Pacific people have a really close relationship to Moana, to Maui, and to those stories.
Yes.
You know, and to see now that Moana is being translated into Tahitian, Samoan, Maori.
No, Philippines, Vietnamese, Spanish, French, English. Actually, today I was watching, I looked for the Tahitian version of Moana. I wanted to watch the whole film, but I couldn't watch it because of copyrights. But I did get to a video of 25 different languages. So the video is split in YouTube in 3 parts. And it's the recordings of 25 different, la la la, how far I'll go, the song, in 25 different languages, which means if the song exists in at least 25 different languages, it means that the song has been translated in at least 25 different languages. Exactly.
It's absolutely awesome.
Yes.
And it's great to be able to share our story.
Yes.
And also, by having our particular language in it, we're able to reclaim it as well as our own, because it is our story. So those are really key things. I don't really know what the interplay is between, the law and culture and identity. I see the law as purely but a facilitator of things. It's a mechanism which enables things to happen.
Yes.
It's just a piece of paper which says X, Y, Z, and Q can happen.
Yes.
You know, it's incredibly powerful, but the love of law is just the law. It's there to help people, and it's there to help enable things to happen. Sometimes we get too caught up in the law and the legality of things, and we need the law to be able to do things. with respect to Te Urewera and the Whanganui River settlement, the law was but a tool used by the local tribes, by the iwi, to purely create an administrative mechanism to a tradition that we have known and believed to be true for millennia.
Yeah, and actually, you mentioned yesterday that that's one of the points that led to the Te Urewera being granted autonomy of its own, because the person who was defending, that was speaking on behalf of the government, said, we are just recognizing a truth that we know it's obvious. Something like that. Remember the phrase he said?
So, we just know that.
When he said, stop.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us about that story? I found it really interesting, if it's possible.
A story about?
About when the person speaking on behalf of the government said to the journalist.
Oh, yeah. So the Crown just said, because all these questions were going, how does a block of land, a piece of dirt, and some lakes and some streams, how does it own itself? And there was all this sort of questions that were being thrown at the minister in charge of turning Te Urewera into a legal person. And basically he just said, just stop your thinking and stop that sort of thinking. And it just is, because it always has been.
Exactly.
And that's what Tūhoe, that's what the people of Whanganui River have always said it to be. Accept it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so by him saying that, it gave real weight to those legal people, those legal identities coming into place, because he didn't get drawn into the fear and scaremongering that people can project.
Yes.
You know, what, a river is going to own itself? Oh, the world's going to end, and we're going to protest. This is not right. Da, 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 da. And he just said, just stop that thinking.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there's just people have just gotten used to it, and
the world hasn't ended.
What's that? The world hasn't ended.
Fairly completely the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. So there was some anxiety from some people around this whole idea of rivers owning itself, etc., etc. But because it's, even if you're a Westerner or a person from brought up in a Western culture,
yes,
or a Maori, you still understand Mother Earth.
Yes.
And you still understand the relationship. And that's all that we were doing. So we weren't actually challenging people's values or principles or understandings. So for that reason, I think people actually accepted it quite easily.
Okay.
Because we weren't challenging their identity, their values and how they perceived themselves. We presented something which was quite different, and nuanced and a little bit crazy.
But it's been used in other domains. For example, a couple of chimpanzees have been able to be liberated from laboratories because they have achieved the figure of legal personhood.
Oh, wow.
There's actually a few organizations internationally that want to rescue chimpanzees from laboratories on the basis that they should be granted legal personhood, and therefore it is.
It just so is.
Yes.
Yeah. And chimpanzees, the Ganges now.
The Ganges?
Yeah, the Ganges now, it's either in the process of or
really
is a legal person.
Wow.
So I think what's happened in New Zealand is probably going to start a ripple effect.
Yes, I agree.
Throughout the world.
Yes. Actually, the first time that I heard about the Whanganui River was on an artificial intelligence book.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I think it was, yes, because the Well, we were talking about how at some point we're gonna. Oh, you're sweating so much.
It's okay. I'm gonna go for a swim soon.
Oh well, great. The pool is there. You missed the pool party actually. Yes, it is just natural to start seeing different types of individuals as person because they are individuals, they are person, and we have this. I agree completely with you that we humans have this relation of imposition with other species,
Totally.
other animals, plants,
Yeah, yeah,
Earth itself.
yeah.
We don't own it.
We don't own it. We don't have power over it. And it doesn't need us to exist.
No.
And actually, it'll exist much better without us, to be quite honest. It'll function much nicely.
I agree.
Much more nicely. So yeah, those are some. It's cool, and there are tribes within New Zealand that are also going, wow, okay,
Hey.
let's do this, or let's try.
Oh.
Let's try and do this somehow. You know,
Whoa.
for their own river or for their own lands or for their own stream or their own harbour or their own whatever.
That's beautiful.
They're exploring how they might be able to do that.
So how do you see this becoming a movement or simply getting strong, well, not simply, or getting stronger and stronger on the legal side
Yeah.
and cascading internationally also?
Yeah, I personally I do because I think it's such a powerful tool.
Yes.
That takes power away from humans.
Yes. To where it should be.
To where it should be in the first place. And it brings us back to the environment. It's not man and the environment, it's man with the environment. Woman, man, woman with the environment. So yeah, I totally do see it happening more throughout the world. And if we start doing it more in New Zealand, it's just going to create a chain reaction, a ripple effect, a snowball effect. We might not have particular legislation which enables rivers to be legal persons, but we might be able to influence planning documents and policy documents that in effect create the effect that this entity is a legal person. We might not call it a legal person, but in effect we might be able to create policies and that do it anyway without saying it.
And also it's very good for the economy. You also met Mark Anielski, the author of The Economics of Happiness, yesterday, and he was telling us that it is possible to value or to calculate the value of natural resources so that the economy is not ethereal based but actually assets based. And if you calculate the value of your natural resources and preserving them in 100 years, then you can increase the value of where you live and your environment by a lot, just by preserving and realizing opening your eyes to the fact that it's better if you take care of it. So there's an indigenous community. There's an island near Tahiti where we are, where about 90 people live. It's a very secluded island, and there is one person who has the official job, so he's paid by the government to plant one coconut tree daily. So if he plants one coconut tree daily, it's a slow way of knowing that what you take down is gonna be growing there slowly and slowly. Long-term planning is very important, and we have detached from a eco-focused point of view so much since we focus on other things that deviate us from our origins.
Material, wealth, and all those sorts of things.
Not wealth.
Not wealth.
Mark Anielski is actually working now on the economics of well-being, and he's saying that wealth is not directly correlated with economic income, with money. Money is just a piece of paper that you attribute value that doesn't come from anywhere.
No, exactly. It's just the perception. Everyone's agreed that this thing has value.
Exactly. And therefore it has.
Therefore it has power. and but there's no objective truth to it.
No. But natural assets do exist in the physical reality.
Exactly, and they're an objective truth. You can touch a tree.
Exactly.
And you know that a tree creates oxygen.
Exactly.
But money, it's just a piece of paper. And it's funny how the smallest things seem to have the greatest power over people, like money does, but yet I can pull it out of my wallet and rip it.
Yeah. Yes, unless it's like one of these indestructible notes. Know them?
Yeah, like in New Zealand, they've got those. You can't even put an iron on it and melt it. It's just indestructible.
Really?
Yeah.
And can I cut it with a scissor?
I think you can cut it.
But so what happens if you try to burn it? It won't burn?
It won't burn. It takes a long time for it to burn.
Cosmos.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh.
But oh well, money's just money. It's just numbers on a screen of that. But no, you're right. And I personally believe that we're going to go from an environment where an economic environment where we in New Zealand traditionally cut down all the trees to create pastoral lands so we can feed, graze cows and sheep and all those sorts of things to actually, we're going to be actually probably replanting all those environments with all sorts of other plants.
We're heading there.
Yeah.
Norway has a long tradition of lumberjack, and now it's a country that no longer cuts even one tree. Yes. So we're heading there because I think we're close to the threshold. Do you think we're
totally. I think we
after the threshold? Or close to it?
We're close to it. In New Zealand, the government has started a program of planting 1 billion trees.
Wow.
So afforestation is a crucial element to maintaining that balance, because one of the biggest problems with our land is that because it's bare, the dirt gets into it, and you've got all these streams and rivers that are just full of sediment.
Okay.
Which means that the fish can't survive, and then the sediment goes into a harbour, and then the harbour doesn't flush itself, or it doesn't have enough. The currents aren't strong enough to flush itself, so these harbours are getting more and more sediment, and they'll soon become wetlands or saltwater wetlands. So we're losing all these environments. So the government realises actually, if we want to keep the dirt where it should be, which is on the land, then we need to plant trees.
Yes.
So there's been a huge program initiated, and it's also about employing people as well, getting people out into the environment, in touch with nature, getting their hands dirty, planting trees. It's like the guy on your island, and getting them connected.
So, if the ideal case scenario in the future is that, I sense that we have a beautiful sunset coming. If the ideal case scenario is that nature is going to own itself and that it's going to have the legal backing to do so, do you think that will happen without the intervention of legal systems, or at some point it will become a self-evident truth?
Yeah,
or it definitely depends on law?
Yeah, I think it'll become a self-evident truth because we know it to be true anyway. The law has helped us to win the argument and get it over the line. But I think it'll become a fait accompli. It'll just be, and it'll become business as usual within the rhetoric and the discourse of policy when it relates to the environment, and law as it relates to the environment. It might take another 5-10 years to get there.
Yes.
But I think it will, because you'll see the merit of it. You'll see the value of it.
Yes.
And how through doing this we can protect our environment, but we can also enhance the well-being of our people. Because we know that if we want to be well and healthy, we've got to have a really intimate relationship with the environment, with our sunlight, with the land, with the green spaces, with the trees, with without these things, people get depressed,
Yes.
they get unwell,
Mm-hmm.
and they die.
Yeah. Or they kill themselves.
Or they kill themselves. So there's a direct correlation between the environment and wellness.
There is.
Or lack of environment and lack of wellness.
Yes.
So, you know, these become key things to consider. So it's not just purely about saving the environment, but it's that interconnected web of the environment, humans, well-being, identity, making sure that the environment is you know, maintaining itself.
The future.
The future. You know, at the end of the day, we're not inheriting the land or the environment from our parents and our grandparents. We're inheriting it from our children. You know, they're giving us the land, so we're inheriting it from them, which is a frame of thinking that we sort of...
Can you explain, please?
So we inherit it from our future generations. So we've got an obligation to protect it for them, because they're giving it to us.
Oh, I see. Because it will ultimately belong to them.
It'll be there to sustain them, and so they're telling us, here you've got an obligation to take care of it for us.
That's beautiful.
So we're inheriting it not from my parents or my grandparents. We're inheriting it from the children who have not yet been born.
Wow.
Yeah. So when we start thinking like that, you start to build a stronger connection and understanding. Yeah, so should we go and see the sunset?
I think we should definitely go and see the sunset. I also feel I'm very happy that as I was trying to cool you down with that piece of paper, I didn't punch you in the face. But Kara, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. And
thank you.
I loved everything you said yesterday, and that's why you're here, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And I really hope that I believe in the same future as you. So I hope that...
That's cool.
Yeah.
And all we need to do is get more people.
Okay. Well,
you need to collect more people.
You hear seasteaders. Ultimately, one of the ultimate goals of seasteading is that we have a positive impact of the environment in two senses. A, by hosting climate refugees, but that's like an unfortunate consequence of the use of what we'll do, but also by trying to develop the technologies that can help us tackle global warming consequences like sea level rise. So yeah, we believe in the same future, Kara. Let's watch that super beautiful red pink sunset, and thank you very much for being here.
Merci.
Oh wow. Why do I say bye in Maori?
Ka kite.
Ka kite. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, how do I say thank you very much?
Thank you. Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe. Ka kite.
Thanks for joining us on the Blue Frontiers podcast. To learn more about our work and find out how you can support the project, visit blue-frontiers.com or visit our social channels. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Blue Frontiers, or shoot us a note via our website. If you learned something and enjoyed the show, tell a friend or leave us a positive review on iTunes or wherever you're listening. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and remember to join us for the next episode.